Hello, everybody. Good evening. This is Dr. Rao, opening our usual time. And this is a question that I would like to pose to my friends and fellow audience or followers, whatever they may be. Uh, this is a question that came up in an introduction of a book I was reading from ancient times. Uh, they had a question of asking any human being, can you stop and ask this question like, am I contributing to life, or am I just living my life? Okay. The implication being that you don't be self-centered and just live it up and um, do not take any initiative about larger issues or issues that can really help the life on earth, right? uh, I'm sure a lot of people think about that once in a while, and then they kind of look at that. But I want to look at personally, and what happened to me was more like a physician. I looked at it and looked at my work, and usually we go to the hospital, we go to the clinic, we kind of get a lot of patients asking for help because they were sick, right? That's a normal way of life. Or we may contribute something for research or something outside just providing the treatment. But generally, practicing physicians in America or in the Western world is like providing me a treatment that was developed and elucidated by other people. And we study, we kind of refine the art and all, but then ultimately we give the treatment. That could occupy your entire life, I'm not denying that. But for me, having the perspective with this question, then it led to more about not just treatment, but also really helping fundamentally to prevent and to improve the wellness or health span, how you live for a long time in good health and enjoy and enjoying the life. Okay. And also not to contribute to the problems of the earth. It could be pollution, it could be relationship, it could be any number of things, right? So for life as a whole, are we contributing, or we just want to live it up our life self-centeredly and ignore the larger problems? That was a personal question. It doesn't mean that we become noble just because we have talk about bigger things and then at least do something about it. Okay. That should not lead to ego, right? That's what it is. So that kind of changed the way I approached patient care with the sympathy and service attitude, and that is changing the cultural things around me by my own attitude. So I was more service oriented, more uplifting the entire team with that spirit of service. That really resulted in not having burnout among those people who adopted that kind of service attitude, and that I became a course, and that I kind of contributed with the physician. So things have evolved out of that, right? So that is like contributing to the whole field, whole kind of everybody, right? So you can look at any profession like that. We can do the job, but also we can ask this question: what is this doing to the life as a whole? Is it contributing, or is it making some dents into the life itself, or otherwise it's harming it, right? So this is the kind of questions I think modern people have to ask, and they're asking, and then take it up as a mission and contribute. I think because our problems are overwhelming, our problem is pretty acute, like a global heat. but then this kind of thing was proposed even back in 80s, 90s too. But many people are still unaware of what kind of predicament we are in terms of Earth and its atmosphere and the pollution that's contributing to almost the extinction of our Earth, right? I remember in the 80s when I was listening to Krishnamurti, he used to lament about this. He used to really cry about this. Our earth, sir, our beautiful earth, that is getting destroyed because people are really. He was talking about whale hunting. He was talking about pollution with the plastic. He was talking about all the chopping of the woods and all. All these things were really explored by the scientific community, and as a whole, the scientific community recommended that we cut down the fossil fuel, we cut down our consumption, all those things, the arguments that are there now, they were explored at that time. But nobody really paid attention to, in the sense, the people who are contributing to the pollution, they increased it more, and the people who are really apathetic to the damage that was going on continue to contribute to the damage, right? That's why we are in a state of affairs that we are with the earth. There's storms, with the earthquakes, and all those things that are happening. Some countries are inhabitable now, like Bangladesh and some of the countries. They are going into the sea, and they are devising ways, developing ways to survive. Okay, but what I'm saying is, what is that we are doing with those larger issues? What kind of life we are leading that can at least reverse that process or really help us to not to cause more to it. Okay, that's kind of thing. So in this series that I'm starting now, I'm going to explore several of these bigger issues and how some of the wisdom that we accumulated over the years can help us to change our behavior now, so that a modern challenge like global heat can be approached with the accumulated wisdom of ours from everywhere else, from the earth, either from the past or the future or whatever that we're going to come up with, should be help us with that. Okay, so the number one on this one is the global heat, right? And then I'm going to take up the perpetual wars. I'm going to take up the perpetual stress and burnout of the people. I'm going to talk about the corporate health and corporate uh, no health, that kind of thing. So many of those topics will be on the world scale, on a generational scale, on something that we could bring it to regular life so that we can contribute to eradication of that problem, that challenge. Okay, so that's the intention. I hope it makes sense for you guys who are listening. And I always welcome people come up and talk about it. But it's up to you whether somebody comes or not. I'm going to say what I want to say, and then I follow up with the people who have been writing to me, and I'll respond to them. Even if few people are there, I will do that. Okay. One thing that is for sure that is happening is I'm going to put this into regular life, where our lifestyles, our wellness, our resilience, all this will grow, so that as we place these extreme weathers, we cultivate certain habits that will help us on a daily basis. Okay, the same thing with the wars and all those things. So other things I'm going to bring it up. Okay, I only mentioned a few of them, but there are a lot of them that I have been working over the years, not to just to save, but then in my own life I try to reduce the plastic. I try to use the cloth bag. I try to really not pollute by myself. That is less consumption, less generation of waste, so more help for the planet, right? So simple living and higher thinking, global really thinking, and then local implementation. Those are the principles I go by, and that's not that big deal. But we contribute in our own way when we approach with these principles. That's what I think. So I was really looking at some of the uh, way the hospitals and the health system that I go to, because I go to in different capacities in different hospitals, right? I may go as a consultant, or I may go as a EMR advisor, I may go as a system developer or system implementer, or I may go as a trainer because many people don't know how to use the EMR effectively. So show them some ways of how to be effective. And at the same time, EMRs had been the chief reason why many doctors are burning out, because that is kind of increase their work. And also there's a new technology. They have to learn each hospital you go to, you may have different system. Okay. So you got to learn many EMRs. That may not be that cup of tea. And they really get stressed out because there's so much patient care. And apart from that, now there's so much documentation. So people get really bogged down with a lot of work, a lot of documentation. What it used to take a few minutes before, now it is taking several hours, and also struggling with the system, and then everybody else sending everything through the system. It becomes too much work. Okay. The more the doctors are documenting, the more documentation is increasing. So that's kind of very unusual, because people want somewhere else to document, otherwise it won't be get billed properly in their way. That means they can make more money. So you got to do the documentation again. So it's kind of heavy burden on the clinicians, both doctors and nurses. So I'm very sympathetic to them. And because I kind of took to EMRs just like a fish sticks to the water, I can figure it out. I can do much better with the EMR, and that doesn't stress me. Actually, it makes my job easier because I learned how to document, right? And I also love to teach people. So when I'm teaching solutions, I love the time. So for me, it's a win all, right? But then for some people, they really fight it. They really want to not to adapt it, and they making themselves miserable that way too. But generally, one disappointment for me also is even though we implemented several billions of dollars of worth of EMR, electronic medical records, in the hospitals and the clinics, the ultimate quality of patient care and then the outcomes improvement, that has not improved. That has gone down rather. So that's a big illusion. I really thought we will definitely increase the patient care quality and also chronic disease outcomes. These two things I really thought that it will improve with the EMR. That's why when nobody really know about this EMR systems coming up, I learned it from the going to Washington D.C. Because luckily I have a friend who was working on the information department there, and they brought me into a small project they were doing. So I was able to really get that feel of how the whole system was evaluated, right? We had this matrix that we were doing. It's like you got to develop that and present that for 90 days review, and then so I was in the beginning stages. So I had a fortune to look into that, how these laws are coming into shape. Anyway, all that resulted in more interest for me to adopt these systems. So one thing led to other. But then after we implemented, there was tremendous resistance from the clinicians because they felt very stressed out with the new systems, not able to learn quickly, but at the same time patient care is really coming out to them, right? So they had to do something about it, and they did, right? Anyway, even then, this attitude of when I'm learning the systems, when I'm implementing for the sake of patients with the intention of improving the patient's quality of care and the outcomes, that was like thinking for the contribution of life, not just your personal uh, greed or personal fame or personal recognition, anything like that, but just the intention of improving the quality of patient care. Um, we were disillusioned because of the results that have come after that. And later also, if you take the chronic diseases, the incidence has increased because people are doing the same stupid mistakes of processed food, same fast food chains, and same lack of plant-based diet. Nowadays, more people are going towards it, plant-based diet. That's a good thing. I am very happy about it. But still, if you take the number from what we know, what we should be, that's kind of disappointing. Okay, so but still it runs into this paradigm, this perspective I'm presenting to you guys, that we should be contributing to the life, not just living our life self-centeredly. So that's where thought leaders, they all come in with their own perspective, that we should be doing this for this thing. That's why we need politicians who are really sensitive to these issues and who are really aware of the solutions of these issues, right? That's kind of thing. So that's why I took up this topic, and I've been writing about it too. I've been a vocal person among the doctors wherever I worked, and most of the people are really happy to listen to this kind of perspective and then present it. Hi, Lois. So it's a kind of perspective. I think many of the leaders have to have, at least. That way we can contribute to the life. Say, for example, materialism, as is promoted everywhere, in India and everywhere, it is kind of sweeping away so many things that people had before, right? So more whatever stress that you see in America, you are seeing in other places too. Like I visited India back when 85, it was there was a gap, right? But then after that, I went in 93 or somewhere like that. Then sea change. All the I felt like I'm seeing America when I went to the town. Everywhere the same TV, same bush on the TV, same what was that MTV and all that were there. So the cultures were swept aside. Some of the inherent thousands, hundreds of practices that they have incorporated into daily life were really swept away. For example, villages used to grow fresh vegetables and fruits as their crops mostly. But then they switched to what are the cash crops. So people started to make money, but they didn't have good food that was grown at home. So and then they had to pay premium price for some good food. That was also not really fresh food, right? So they lost that kind of thing. The eventual uh, conclusion of that was the kids, they are the young men, lost half an inch of vertebral size. That means the height has gone down. That's a really sad situation, because people are sacrificing their health for making money that is not doing anything for them. In those villages I'm talking about. So even now also it has become more like that, rather than helping people for the wholesome health I always talk about. Okay, so that's why I taught my patients, learn to grow some vegetables and fruits if they have a chance to do it. And many did. Some people brought in tomatoes, some people brought in oranges, some people brought in so many things, because they want to show them to me that they are growing, and then they wanted to treat me. I was very thrilled to see them grow big tomatoes, very nice ones, and because they did not use any chemicals or fertilizers, right? They were growing them organically, and they were fresh from the fruit, from the tree. They plucked it and then brought them to me to the clinic, just to show me that they are growing this. And then some people send me baskets of oranges from Florida, because they used to stay here during summer, and it is very nice in Iowa, no winter, nothing, right? But in the winter, they used to escape to Florida. So they were always like that, back and forth. So when they were in Florida, they grew these oranges and sent that to me. That was very nice, tasty, organic oranges. I got them. So you can make small changes like that and contribute to life, right? I'm sure many people, if you reflect on what are all the things that you are doing, or you can isolate them and then do them more, relishing them and really understanding this is contributing the life of not only my neighbor, my other people, but also to the survival of the uh, planet, right? It's not really exaggerated because many people don't pay attention to these things. But that is how it starts. Suppose you carry a cloth bag, you don't carry a plastic bag, and then you get to vegetables every day, whenever you go, and that was the old habit for all of us, right? Paper bags or cloth bags, not plastic. You will contribute a lot because the plastic that is dumped on the garbage side, it will not go for 100 years. They're trying to evaluate. I mean, they're trying to invent some tools to dissolve the plastic. That's a good thing if it really works out on a mass scale. But still, the carelessness, the recklessness with which we use the plastic without really thinking of the consequences down the line. You know what? As a physician, I was very, very, very upset when I heard the report that they are discovering these plastic fibers in the tummies of babies, because the milk that is coming through, and also the water they are drinking, they has these plastic fibers, and they are going into the baby's tummies and then causing problems. So that is terrible, right? But that's the consequence of using plastic all over. So this topic, hi Jacob, how are you? This topic of taking up these bigger perspectives. I'm sure we are doing some of that without knowing or with knowing. But generally, if you do that, that will be very nice, if you are aware. So in this series, I think I'll do it for a couple of weeks. I'm going to take these big perspectives and revisit them or get introduced to them so that you are contributing to life, not just living self-centered life. There's nothing of a crime if you live just yourself. But then I think this stage has come where the problems are so enormously growing. We all need to contribute our own way. Not in a political movement, not in anything, but just being aware of daily activities and change them a little bit, and that would help a lot. For example, water water that is wasted is a really crime, because so many people around the world don't have good drinking water, right? So conservation of it is very important. And I see a technique in back home. One of them I was doing is they collect all the rainwater and then use it, and then they are having real good success with all of that, because most of the buildings there are made of concrete, so they can drain the waters in a particular way and then collect them around the house and go to a pool, and from the pool they kind of take it to the cleaning facility, whatever, and then they recirculate, and then the householder gets some credit and also some money, because just like electricity with the solar power, how we can sell back the power, like that they are doing with the water also. Things like that, very simple things that we don't take notice and waste, we can convert into this thing. But first thing is global thinking and local action. That's a very simple way to look at it. But then, really, if you sit down and think about it and come to these simple solutions and implement them, local implementation, that is all that I'm saying. Jacob, what do you think about this topic?
I gotta say, Dr. Rao, I'm listening and not very well at the moment.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Jacob is in a place where a lot of noise there. Okay, that's fine. So this series came out of that, as I was telling in the beginning, from a spiritual book that was written thousands of years ago. It asked all humanity this question: are you adding to the life as a whole, or are you just using the resources and thereby you are not nurturing the earth? At that time, they had a meaningful relationship with the nature. They treated nature as mother. They treated all the resources are very precious, and they even named them as gods. They named the gods of all five elements, and there is a god for those five elements too. Like for example, fire is a god, rain is a god, sky is a god, like that. So they give so much importance, so much value to that. We may not accept them as god, but we can accept them as fundamental elements that builds up all our physical material world, right? That much we can really say that. So I hope I'm not making a boring talk or something, but I hope it makes sense for people. And also, if you are really globally thinking and locally acting, that's a good thing we should recognize or we should promote. Or if you are really not aware of some of the problems and you are brought to be aware of anything like this activity, then you can adopt and contribute. That's really good thing. But if you have an argument about it, your right is to live here and enjoy all the facilities, you don't care about the future of the children, then you could take a second look at it. There are any number of ways we can contribute to the life, to contribute, to add it to life, so that life will be elevated, life will be qualified, quality, right? You can bring all that. I am doing it as a physician because I more involved now about how do I improve the wellness for an individual. How do I do that for a corporation wellness, right? I teach them now. How do I really go to a health system and encourage them to be wellness oriented so that many people don't get sick to begin with? Okay, so how do we educate people to take charge of their health and stop smoking, stop drinking? All those things they can do by themselves, but sometimes they need a little bit push. Also, all these attractions that are created for them to say, "Oh, this will be good for you. If you smoke, you will be cool." That's what 50s, right? 50s people said it's very cool to light up a cigarette and smoke. So the He-Man that was portrayed as a cowboy is a vital and all that. But then how he died at the end, they don't know. They only look at that picture there. So they're duped even now, even in countries like India, that the actors they portray smoking as a big deal, as a cool thing to do. And I get really irritated because I have seen the cancer death from the smoking, the COPD, chronic obstructive lung disease, how these smokers suffer till the end. They cannot breathe really, and then they are aware they want to do things, but they cannot do because they cannot breathe. A few steps they take, they get short of breath. They have to carry an oxygen tank sometimes. It's a hell of a life, really. One thing about that chronic obstructive lung disease is the COPD, we call it. You are aware of it till the moment you die. Okay, some of the dementia, some of the other people lose their mind, they don't understand any of the suffering. But these people really suffer. I had one lady, she not only had a carcinoma of the lung, but also she had this chronic obstructive lung disease. I saw her till the last day, and she came to me one day before she died. And even then she was struggling to breathing and all that. But the same status she maintained for 5 years before that. They told her 3 months for the cancer, but she survived, she stayed. But then she had to drag that oxygen tank and all of that. We can have improved as much as we can with reducing the tank size or compressing the oxygen, or providing oxygen en route and here, so that she doesn't have to carry things like that. But there's a limited. Fundamental thing is she can't breathe, right? And it cannot be helped that much after there's such a damage, So all these things are important for us because we see the suffering directly, you know, and also we kind of want to help the people who are not in that phase yet by providing a lot of good care medically. But still, this all this uh, Isaiah, welcome. So it's a kind of consideration, awareness, and global thinking and local acting. Okay, so this is all motivated by this thought: what is human life? Is it just to live here and enjoy the things that were there and just glorify ourselves and use the resources and go? Or is it to contribute to life in a way that is not only help everybody, right? That really helps a lot. You know, I was actually writing a book. I wrote a lot of it, but it had to be edited several times as the things are evolving. The title was Modern Challenges. The first one was the global heat, which we are talking about today, and the second topic was perpetual global wars. And then third topic was why within the country there's so much of corruption. So many things are happening in the underworld, and also inequality of the countries, Africa, Asia, South America, Latin America. If you look at them, they're very poor. They're not having any resources, right? That kind of thing. So we have several issues that I discussed about it. But then the things about global change was I wanted a current information, and that kept on changing. And also some of the corporate health, some of the poor thing uh, about not only health but also mental health was really going down. So those issues are there too. So I go from the world to the countries, to the in between countries, within the countries, corporations, and the individuals, family, like that. Okay, I trace all the stresses of life, all the beauties of life, and how we are really borne away by certain stresses. For example, when COVID hit, what it showed was the weakness of our epidemiological system in this country. So we don't have epidemiology nurses enough. We don't have enough staff to really enforce the. We wanted to keep the patient taking care of themselves, mitigating efforts, right? And that was not done because we don't have epidemiological system or the infrastructure for that. What? Even now it is like that. Another epidemic hits, we're going to pay more this time. So that's what our problem is. So we can have explore a lot of problems that are current, that are brooding, that are neglected, that not having awareness. So my effort is to just to present that perspective where you can be proactive about these things and first think about them, then think about the possible solution, then contribute to them, and talk to your congressman, ask them to make changes, those kind of active democratic process, right? That's what I was doing. Even in this talks when I come, usually there is something that I want to help, uh, cause of the stress, cause of the burnout, cause of the whatever problems people have. I like to give them some efficiency. But actually, there is a state of human beings can be very joyful within, very resilient within, and face the challenges of life with guts. That capacity is there with us, within all of us, to some extent or greater extent. That can be, the inner resilience can be really optimized, so that whatever your life situation, you have a relationship problem, you have an employment problem, you have an economic problem, you have so many problems you may have, but you can develop this resilience. That way you can face the life with strength, not with the weakness. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get. The ancient systems have this resilience because they didn't have this much technology that we have now. They may have some, but not much. So we are doubly blessed. We can use the technology, also we can develop resilience that, like they did, um, live normally, naturally, and use the tools of technology when you need them. Okay, don't be uh, um, disempowered by the use of technology. Even simple physical things. Suppose you didn't have the remote for the TV. I remember that 80s when I first came in, you didn't have a remote really. You got to go and switch on the TV. Even for that, you have to get on the sofa and walk a little bit, right? But later on this came, that's fine too. But then you can always improve the exercise, get up and go to the bathroom, come back, and all that. But I have seen that laziness has grown and exercise has gone down. I have seen that as a physician. I've seen so many obese people because they can't even get up from the chair. And then they kind of reinforce, and they become more and more obese because of that. Keep your mind quiet. That's something I tell them all as much as possible. Enjoy, relax, take it easy, and all. Now people are using the mind at a rapid speed with all the devices and not having the sleep at night time, and they're spoiling their health in so many ways. Okay, so these are not my thing. I have seen this and I have seen the evolution. What I am saying is be smart. Don't let the technology be your boss. Use the technology being their boss. So simple thing is half an hour before sleep, shut it off and don't wake them up after you get up in the morning for half an hour. How many people I told this, but many people still are kind of dragged by this. And suppose they went to go to bed 10 o'clock, they work in the bed for 1 hour or so, and they sleep on that active mind. That's the no for good sleep. You got to unwind both body and the mind before you go to good sleep. So there are techniques. I will be teaching them, and I personally do it. And I have a very good sleep, no matter what kind of day I had, no matter how much things are going. I shut off everything and they go to sleep. That's because there is a technique I teach. It's called movement to movement awareness, not thinking. Movement to movement awareness. That means if I'm doing this room, I'm talking about certain talking points that I want to convey to my audience. I am going to do that. After that, this is all gone because I'm bored to the next whatever. If I'm watching a movie or if I'm talking to my family or having a dinner with them, or I enjoy that completely. I don't want to bring all these other things that are not their interest. I just want to relate to that, how they are doing, what is happening, and all that. And that is requires attention and care about the other person too, right? So then also you are in the moment. That's why you don't remember all this because your effort is to be here, to be in the present, to be in that moment. So once you do that, after a while it becomes your habit. Then you don't have to, you will think only when you want to. You want to do a brainstorm of a certain problem, do that. But then take the points what you want to implement and don't go on thinking. Stop it there. That people are not learning how to really shut off the teaching, thinking when they don't need it. Very important in this information age. I've been teaching this for a lot of people. They have to learn it. But if you think I can think for long hours, yeah, for a certain time, maybe 10 years, 20 years, but later on you'll pay for it. Okay. So be careful about overloading your mind with all sorts of things. Okay. So what is the time now? 6:45. Okay, another few minutes we can talk. See, some of the things on this series, as we go into them and explore them, they're going to touch some people, and they're going to agitate some people, either because they can't take the um, implied um, meaning and criticism. Maybe they may take it as criticism, but it's not directed to them personally. It is directed to the bigger problem and how we are all contributing to it, how we all can make a difference. That's the spirit with which I'm going to say. So please don't take it personal. Suppose you are a plastic user, the why I describe the problem and all that, you could take it to the heart and feel very bad about it. Don't do that. That doesn't solve the problem. Just look at that, if that is real or not. Is this my figment of imagination or not? If it is not, then take it serious, and then find out the small things. And then you remember that book Atomic Habits? That's a very good book, because he talks about small things that you could change that can significantly change your life and the life around you. So I would recommend people to look at that. Atomic Habits. Okay, very nice book. All right. So I will stop there for today. If anybody wants to come up, I will heal for a few more minutes. Otherwise, I will stop today and then come back tomorrow. And we will take another big subject. Today we talked about global heat, climate, and all that. Tomorrow, another thing we will take it up. And actually, there was a list I developed at one time based on that the book went. So I will take that list out and bring that, and then you can understand what is the agenda going to be in the next couple of weeks on this kind of topics. Okay. Um, Jacob, any thing? Can you talk, or still you're not able to talk?
I'm in a better location,
Yeah.
sound wise now. Um, I feel sometimes I feel like I know things,
Yeah.
and maybe I do,
Mm.
but I don't know anything. Gosh, I'm not sure how to say this. It's like I feel like I have good moment to moment awareness,
Mm.
but it's difficult for me in certain situations. Like I still have a battle with automatic action.
Mm.
Um, I think I'm getting better with um, like I used to have more intense emotional reactions, but
Yeah.
this even this automatic action, like
Mm.
for me to make a decision to transition to a different behavior,
Mm.
I feel like like I get the sensation of heaviness. It's like
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah.
It's like it's difficult for me to
No. Mm.
transition sometimes,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's not, and sometimes it's environment dependent.
Yeah. It is.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, so I
the
don't know.
the
Yeah.
peers, the culture we are born in, the way the family atmosphere or work atmosphere, so many things are there. To break away from that and then really act, sometimes it will be not a good political thing to do. Like for example, executive meeting, people call all the heads of the departments of the hospital come there, right? And then all the doctors, nurses are there, and they never keep fruit or something that's good. They always donuts and everything, so I kind of always joke about that, but then they sometimes feel very bad because they never change. They are always like eating the processed food, and they're keeping it only there. After a certain time, then they started to bring in some fruits also there. That made a good continental breakfast. I mean, it's a very simple thing for people to do, but they don't do it normally. So you have to have a courage of conviction too, Jacob. And so when you don't want to sound like a really making them insulting or some offensive behavior. But if you are really for trying for this, what I call about working for the life, that is something completely different, from If your intentions are about something, you want to gain out of it, and you are really belittling other people, that may be a problem. See, what does the spirituality does is it gives you that loving feeling, even though people behavior is erratic, right? And then you won't be judging them, but you would rather be sympathetic to them. you know that is why the spirituality is the fundamental, where you accept people for what they are, but at the same time you can show them where they are not going the right way. you know but you are kind of, for a young man, you are doing very well, I think, just to have things together, right? And you are kind of paying attention, and at least you are trying to look at yourself, am I really implementing this or not? That's a big deal. A lot of people listen and they let it go. They don't, even one or two, if you do it, you have made progress, right? And you have contributed life. Am I right about you that you are at least listening and you're trying to do some things?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been on this journey with you for a while. I've been on my own journey, but even like sharing here
Yeah.
in your space, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of things that come and go, and new insights emerge,
Yeah.
and it's difficult to get into a habit to be able to, I don't know, let's say, have the optimal approach and response system even inside a dynamic environment.
Yeah.
Right? Or in an unknown environment.
For that you need some inward looking. In Sanskrit it's called antarmukha. That means you are not allowing your mind to go outward all the time, but rather turn around and look at yourself. And that's really gives you some idea about, that's called self knowledge, self awareness. That goes a long way. If some people can do it for a better time, but some people at least have a reflection daily is a good habit. Not in the sense of I did something wrong, but more like a, how can I learn from that experience? How can I reflect on that? This is why I tell them, before you go to bed, unwind and review your day, especially the emotional reactions that you had for the day. Review them and see what happened there. Why did I react with anger, or why did I react with jealousy, or any number of things can happen to us, right? Or I was unhappy about somebody's remark, whatever it is. And that makes us really pause and take a look at before we had a real reaction. That's how I think. I don't think many people have this habit of reflecting as a measure that they can do every day, and then go from there. That's how you get into meditation slowly. Once you understand to slow those reactions, once you understand what they are, why they are, what kind of family structure, what kind of work structure, whatever you are born in and brought up, might have done that. What did the people say about it, and that kind of thing. See, when I'm interested in the human suffering, I'm interested in several levels. One of the levels is level of ignorance, right? People don't know what they don't know, and then they don't know where to go and learn what they need to learn. Satyanarayan, welcome here. If you have any comments, you can come up and talk to us. I wonder whether I have to invite him to come. So I would say I'll give him a chance if they want to. Okay. All right. So that's about it then, Jacob. Okay. We will meet again tomorrow. Okay.
All right. I hope you have a wonderful evening.
You too. Bye. Okay.